operator lifts it up so it doesn't sway. So that any wind speeds up to 90, it's still standstill. It's like it doesn't sway. Then also what's an advantage is those wheels, those axles, you'll see where the tires are. You'll see there's 2 tires per axle. There's actually 4 per bogie, and it actually is a total of 16. What that does is it makes the RTG stable so it doesn't sway. That will give us the capability and the confidence to operate at high wind speeds. Yeah, Minister, those are the old ones. What we're busy with there is as we demobilizing them, we are busy cutting them up, and we are getting income for that as well, in terms of ensuring that the industry, whoever interested in that steel, will actually purchase it from us. Scrap steel.
I think I just need to add, when you look at the back, you see these structures here. These are walkways, so it helps with the plug-in of the container. Once the container comes in, is refrigerated, is high-valued cargo. So we need to ensure that it's plugged in on power. I must also say that we are exempted from power outages, being a critical point. And once the additional new rubber tide gantry comes in, this whole block will be fitted with the new ones. Number one is reliable. It can withstand the wind. And because of the high volume of containers coming in, we need to work faster. We have windows of opportunity. We don't have a lot of time. These fruit needs to reach the market in the shortest possible time.
So, colleagues, good morning to everybody, and thank you very much for joining us today. Today, what we are doing is we are inspecting new improvements to the Cape Town container terminal that are going to help us with the deciduous fruit season. Everybody here can recall the disastrous season we had in 2023, where our exporters were complaining that their refrigerated containers were being left not plugged in, fruit was going rotten, ships were queued in the bay. So I think what is really exciting about this fruit season is the fact that we will have our 18 brand new rubber tire gantries will be operational by the end of November. The first 9, as you can see, are already operational. And by January, we will have included the last 10. Now, these particular pieces of equipment are highly efficient, and I think we can call them state-of-the-art pieces of equipment because they can operate in wind speeds of up to 90 kilometers an hour. One of the fundamental difficulties we face here in Cape Town during the deciduous fruit season is the southeaster. And what happens is that we are at risk of downtime in this port. If you'd been here yesterday, you would have seen that we were unable to work because wind speeds were at 110 kilometers an hour. So now, instead of being able to work at 70 kilometers an hour, we can work right up to 90 kilometers an hour. In ports elsewhere in the world, this equipment is now what we call operator free, and the operators are working in control rooms, not in that little office that you see at the top of the RTG there. What we did was we took our operators overseas and we allowed them to visit international ports and to see operator-free pieces of equipment. And we asked them to evaluate this, both from a productivity and from a safety point of view, and to come back and tell us what do they think, and are they prepared to also engage in that kind of activity. And I think what you've already heard is that we got very positive feedback. Our operators can see the efficiency and the safety benefits of operating operator-free from a control room during high wind speeds. Obviously, that is a transitional process. It's going to take us 2 years to be fully operator-free and to have our operators working from control rooms. But now that there is buy-in, this is an innovation that we will start to implement. These shelves here that have the reefer plug points, I think what is important to share with you is that we've got 3,200 of those plug points, and at high season we will be bringing in another 400 plug points. In addition to that, we also have support from various private sector partners. Maersk is increasing their plug points from 250 to 400. And there's also new plug points, 200 plug points that Grindrod is bringing in. And we're really pleased about that, because what it means is that should we have downtime in the port, there are plenty of plug points to plug the reefers in so that we can wait until the wind subsides. I think at this point we'll pause here and we'll go on and see other things.
Now we'll take questions. You'll have the opportunity to take questions towards the end. So if you can just note your questions. Thank you. Okay, colleagues, can you go back to our cars?
For the photo of the minister.
Minister, they want a picture of you by yourself. There is a photo up with the minister, colleagues, for cameras. Photo up with the minister. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah.
So, proud moment for us as South Africans. What you see in front of you is the remaining RTGs that's currently being commissioned. On my right is the ones that's going to be released very soon into operations. On my left is the ones that's already fully assembled, and they are going to start commissioning as well. What's important of these new RTGs, colleagues, as I was indicating in the previous stack area, those double wheels gives you stability. What's important as well is you see on the top where the spreaders are, those orange components, the ropes are, you can see how many ropes it's got that's linking onto the spreader. Those are all automated in terms of stabilizing the container during high winds, okay? Also, what's important in these new equipments, remember, the main thing that we implement from an engineering point of view is to reduce downtime. So this has a lot of technology that reduces maintenance as well. So we are, and also key guys, we are going energy efficient. These are hybrid RTGs. So hybrid. So which means we will have a 40% reduction in fuel utilization. So carbon emissions is drastically reduced. So those are the key features of this RTG. Also, if you look at the remote capability, all these RTGs have positions where cameras and laser technology is fitted on. If you see in front of the RTG, this leg that we're standing on, if you look at the device there, there's like a camera fitted over there with a laser feature. It protects our operators. When you're operating it remotely, even on the cabin over there, it guides it actually steers automatically. So the operator is protected, our containers are protected, our pieces of equipment are protected. So we spec these RTGs to ensure that we minimize downtime and we maximize throughput. There's a lot of other features, but I think these are state of the art. We are in par with the world, and we are so excited to start operating these things effectively, Minister. So on this side, there's the ship-to-shores that Knox were talking about. It's a STS crane, right? It's a ship-to-shore crane. What's important is this crane have a capability of operating already at 90 kilometers per hour, normal at high wind speeds. So at least now we balance from a land side. Now the land side, remember colleagues, it feeds the container to the ship-to-shore to load onto the vessel. And also the vice versa is true. It offloads the container from the vessel, the hauler then takes it to the RTG puts it into stack. So that capability now is all in par. We can operate those things seamlessly. What we're doing on the ship-to-shores as well, Minister, in about 3 years' time, we're already in the planning phase. These cranes will also be similar to what we have bought in terms of technology on the RTG side. So we're also going for remote, and the capability of the cranes will be enhanced as well, similar to the RTGs in terms of all technology advancements. Yes, so that's what I'm going to mention. So what we've done with the cranes, we're currently doing a reliability refurbishment program so that we ensure that we are not limping on now the water side, whereas the land side is actually effectively giving us the throughput. So we've done a lot of work on the ship-to-shores to enhance the reliability so that it takes us through that carryover period for between 2 years to 3 years once we start replacing these ship-to-shores. So we try to do that balancing act. Also, what's important here is the system is designed such that all your haulers, your new haulers that's also been fitted, together with the ship-to-shores, together with the RTGs, have all sensory devices. So which means we don't go to the machine to see how the machine is behaving. We do it remotely with laptops. We can see exactly what alarms we're getting, what feedback is the machine giving to the operators. Everything is digitalized. So we actually then can able to respond much quicker to troubleshooting and also to ensure that the machine is operating effectively at its full capability. So that's all being fitted as we speak today. So those are the good things that we are trying to enable in the port of port terminals.
How quickly are you loading and unloading ships now? How long are ships staying in the bay?
So Oscar, I think we have really changed the trend in terms of the Port of Cape Town Container Terminal. The vessels are turning around much quicker. I think Oscar is in charge of operations and he's got some proud numbers to tell us in terms of the throughput that we are achieving at the current state. Oscar?
Thank you. I'm going to take you back to history of over 200 hours. And we measure it from the time the vessel entered the port, onto the quayside, work the vessel, and then outside to the port, which means that it's transient port terminals on the operations, but also on the marine facility to support that. From a high of over 200 down to 183, we're now moving to a 60 hours average turnaround time. So that's also in terms of, so this is where we are even before the new equipment comes into play.
So you've reduced the amount of time ships are spending in the dock from 200 to 60 hours. And once this new equipment comes in?
We need to also say that there are some wind delays that will come into play. But we are being held accountable from the National Ports Authority. We really need to reintroduce to your 50 hours, and that is where we are looking at.
So the target with the new equipment is in and out in 50 hours. So that's basically 2 days.
Yes.
Okay. No, thank you very much. We can summarize there.
Okay.
But just look at the beautiful babies. Aren't they wonderful? Hey? Just beautiful. And more babies on that side.
Okay, colleagues, we move to the presser where we'll have the presser. If you can just, we'll give you time to set up and then we'll start. Yeah, yes. The speaker is too... Those with mics, please, if you can just bring your mics. Yeah. You can even come a bit closer. It doesn't mind. Can we have your mic? Your mics, please. Is anyone connecting live or is just with commissions going on? Anyone going live?
You've got to make space for me here,
This one don't need. This one you need.
But I need to be able to move my papers.
Can you hold two? Oh yes, that's a nice one. I want to give it. Can we have a tape? Just to... Can you also just hold these ones? No?
Yeah, just, I don't want to cause a crisis here. Ooh. Ah.
Colleagues, we're starting. Okay, we'll take a statement from the Minister and thereafter it will be Q&As. Over to you, Minister.
Good morning once again to everybody, and allow me to acknowledge Mr. Oscar Borchitz, the Managing Executive of Transnet here in the Western Cape region. Let me also acknowledge Ms. Noxolo Tabata, Terminal Manager for the Container Terminal, our Deputy Director General, who is responsible for ports in the Department of Transport, Mr. Madia, and all other senior executives and managers, as well as members of the media. Thank you very much for joining us today. Let me just start by expressing my sincere condolences to the 8 people who lost their lives in a terrible accident that occurred between a taxi and a truck at Van Rennen's Pass, just between Montrose and Harrismith this morning. As those of you would probably know, the road there is still closed to deal with the recovery operation. There were also 5 injuries and 2 people in the taxi who were not injured. And our thoughts and prayers are with the loved ones and the victims, and also with those who will have a journey to recover in hospital. Ladies and gentlemen, today's visit to the Cape Town Container Terminal is part of a process that we have developed to visit this terminal ahead of the beginning of the deciduous fruit season. And what you have already heard is that by the first week of November, we start with the deciduous fruit season. We reach the peak of that season late December, early January. And it's enormously important that we come here before the start of the deciduous fruit season, because of the huge ecosystem that exists here in the Western Cape around the export of our deciduous fruit. And what we know is that for too long, inefficiencies in our ports and also in our rail network has been a constraint on economic growth. So it has become enormously important that we recapitalize our ports and that we invest in state-of-the-art machinery that will allow us to load and unload ships with speed, but will also ensure that delicate agricultural produce, such as stone fruit, grapes, berries, do not sit here on the dock for days and days and deteriorate in condition. Behind me, you see the next 9 rubber tire gantry cranes that will go into service in November. These cranes join 9 others that were commissioned in September and that are going to assist us to make sure that there are no delays in the deciduous fruit season and to make sure that we are able to operate in conditions of high wind. Already last year, we began processes to make sure that last year's deciduous fruit season was not the disaster that we had in 2023. And I must say, through joint work that we did, both with the private sector, with farmers, and with freight institutions as well as shipping lines, we had a much better outcome. But I think this year we really are much, much more confident that there's going to be a very good outcome. First of all, wind is an enormous risk factor here in the Port of Cape Town, and this terminal is particularly wind prone during the summer months as a result of the southeaster. Last year, we introduced 6 ship tensioners. These are special ropes that hold the ships firm and close to the shore under conditions of high wind speeds. This year, we're pleased to announce that we have 12. So we've doubled the number of ship-to-shore tensioners, and what that means is that there will be many more of these important, sophisticated pieces of equipment holding the vessels stable. The second innovation, as you've heard, is these new RTGs are now fully compatible with the ship-to-shore cranes that you see. Both of these pieces of equipment can operate in wind speeds of up to 90 kilometers an hour. We have altogether 3,200 reefer plug points. Those are refrigeration plug points. And we will be bringing in another 4 generator sets, which will give us 400 more plug points, so that we can ensure that if we have downtime as a result of wind, there are no containers that we won't be able to plug in. Now, the issue of the turnaround time of trucks is something that has been of enormous concern to the industry. Last year, because we still had very unreliable equipment, we were turning trucks around in an average of an hour. This year, we are achieving an average of 40 minutes for truck turnaround time. And of course, these new pieces of equipment are really going to help to make sure that we sustain that truck turnaround time. The industry standard is 30 to 35 minutes turnaround time. So we are edging much closer to that industry standard, and that, of course, would be our goal going forward once all of these pieces of equipment are operational. Now, we have decongested this port quite significantly by using the Balcon facility. And that facility, we're currently running 2 trains a day. Those trains will bring in containers for export, and then of course they will take away imports. Our intention is over time to increase that facility so that we can run 4 trains a day, and we're trying in this season to be able to run 3 trains a day. Long term, we are hoping that 15% of the containers will be moving through that facility, and that obviously will help with the decongesting of the tracks. Now, the deployment of the new RTG cranes combined with rigorous maintenance and planning means that we are better equipped than ever before to support Western Cape farmers in this fruit season. We prepared to ensure that high-value, temperature-sensitive products reach global markets swiftly and reliably. The renewed efficiency safeguards thousands of jobs in the agricultural sector, boosts the revenue of our regional economy, and proves that our partnerships and investment deliver tangible results. Now, I think it's not an exaggeration to say to you that we are seeing a new era of excellence across our ports system. We have a target of moving 105,000 TEUs a week. We haven't yet reached that target, but last week we managed to achieve 104,000 containers in a week. So we are just one off the target. And I must tell you that a lot of members of the freight industry have my number. And I used to get nasty messages every Friday. Now I get hearts and hugs and all kinds of nice messages from the freight industry. And I think that really we do have to congratulate Transnet Port Terminals for the significant improvement that they are making. Now, we didn't do this on our own, ladies and gentlemen. We have been working very closely with our customers. We have a forum that is currently planning for the deciduous fruit season, and it involves those in the logistics sector. It also involves those who would be in the farming sector. It's meeting twice a week. And I did attend one of those meetings when I came here last year. It wasn't the nicest meeting I've ever attended, but I can say to you that there's really a much better vibe, and the private sector has assisted us enormously. I mentioned earlier that Grindrod has added 200 plug points. Maersk, is it Maersk or MSC? I must be careful here, I'm going to get into trouble. Maersk, yes, Maersk. Maersk has increased their plug points from 250 to 400, and Grindrod, it's not 200, it's 250. So these are off-site plug points, but they are enormously useful should we find a situation where there's wind downtime and we need to unload vehicles. What we would also be doing is using the general terminal, which is down the road. That terminal is less affected by wind, and so should we face a lot of wind situation, we would use that terminal. It also has reefer plug points. We would use that terminal, and of course there's also the private fresh produce terminal. So between the 3 terminals we do think that we should have a much better outcome. Now, colleagues, I think that you know that overall we are working with the private sector to look at long-term investment in our ports and in our rail capacity. And we are doing that while our port and rail infrastructure remains in state ownership. But the private sector participation is really intended to increase efficiency and effectiveness of both our port and our rail network. Early in the year, we put out a request for information for the freight sector of Transnet, both rail and ports. And before the end of the year, we will put out the first request for proposals on the Richards Bay bulk terminal. And early in the new year, we will bring out 3 more requests for proposals. Now, the impact of all of this new equipment is that the Western Cape government, which would be hosting their inaugural Western Cape Investment Summit in Cape Town next week, can feel much more confident to be able to ensure investors that goods can reach their international destinations quickly, safely, affordably, and also reliably. Ladies and gentlemen, as we conclude Transport Month, we are transforming a narrative of decay and decline into a story of recovery and resilience. The new equipment and the tangible performance improvements are a vote of confidence in the future of the Port of Cape Town. And I look forward to us continuing together on this journey that is productive and collaborative with all of you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, yeah.
Thank you so much, Minister. We'll take questions. Show of hands. And then you'll introduce yourself and the news outlets you'll present. I've noted one. We'll start with you. Maybe let's just start with you and then others will follow. And then there's a second one there. You can go ahead, introduce yourself. Question.
Morning, Minister. It's Naina Ibrahim here from Youth for Business. I just wanted to ask, in terms of the peak season, you spoke about the turnaround since 2023. Does the port have your significant vote of confidence ahead of peak season? And also, just secondly, in terms of the trade uncertainty we are experiencing now, I know that a lot of our exporters are reliant on the US market. Are you still confident that we can continue to enter that market with the efficiency of our port and that there will be no sort of disruptions to that?
Yes, I think we can say with certainty that this port has our full confidence as we go into the deciduous fruit season. And we're doing everything we can to make sure that our precious cargo can reach all international destinations safely and affordably. I think that, of course, Minister Tau is the right person to talk about in terms of export destinations, but we know that there are significant negotiations that are ongoing with the United States, and of course my colleagues in Cabinet are also working hard to secure alternative destinations for our agricultural and other produce. My job is to make sure that once they find those destinations, we can get our produce there. And as you can see, we are very hard at work to make that a reality.
Just a clarity-seeking question, which is how many of these RPGs and how have they been procured? Are they latter part has been answered in terms of end value.
Can I also just ask Oscar to come?
Yeah. So we have 28 new ones, and some of the old ones are also still operational. And what we've explained is that we're operationalizing these new ones in phases. The first phase was in September, the second phase is in November, and the last phase will be operational at the peaks of the season in January. You can talk about money.
Thank you, Minister. So, just on the procurement process, remember we also broadcasted in the news and our news press releases, we entered into OEM partnership, collaboration contracts. That was to ensure that we streamline our procurement mechanism and ensure that we got a long-term relationship to ensure stability within our environment in South Africa. Previously, we only had a relationship with the OEM when we bought a machine for 2 years. Now we've got a long-standing relationship with them, as much as 10 years. So the good thing with us is it gives us stability. It gives us the entrenchment of investing in our country, creating localization, creating employment, those type of things. Those are the things that we actually pushed for, and we started in 2022, and now we're getting the fruits of those things that we have already embedded in the company. Thank you.
I think what I would like to add is one of the questions I asked is, do they come with a maintenance contract? Because the last thing we want to see is these wonderful pieces of equipment up on bricks 18 months from now. So they definitely do come with a maintenance contract and also with training. And we have taken the opportunity of taking our operators to be trained. And I was explaining at the other side how we've been involving our operators in the decision around operator-free usage of this equipment, and so far it's been extremely well received.
Have a second round. More questions? Before we come back to you, can I take a... Can we have a mic? Raise the mic. We've noted you and yourself. You're not... Okay. You can go ahead.
Hi, I'm Honestly Fakalipa from Hattie. There's been issues that have been listed like congestion, weather disruptions, and security concerns. What mitigating measures are being put in place to address these issues? And to follow up on that, how much revenue does the terminal generate and stand to lose if these are not addressed? Thank you.
So I think what we spoke about is the way in which this new equipment is already improving the congestion issue. Because trucks, instead of waiting an average of 60 minutes, are now waiting an average of 40 minutes. Once all of these new pieces of equipment are up and running, we hope to be much, much closer to the international benchmark of 30 to 35 minutes. And of course, if you're halving the time that a truck has to wait, then it obviously is very good from the perspective of the logistics owner, because it means you can bring your trucks 2 or 3 times within a day into this facility. Now, when there is wind, first of all, this new equipment can work up to 90 kilometers an hour. It will only have to stop once wind speeds exceed 90 kilometers an hour. When that happens, what we do is we use the back of port facility balcon and we unload there. And we stack the containers up there so that when the wind dies down, we can then use the train to bring them in and load and unload the ships. We're also working with the 3 ports together. So there's this container terminal, there's the general freight terminal, and there's the private fresh produce terminal. So if there is wind, we first divert to the general freight terminal because that terminal is less affected by wind than this one. And obviously, we can also give, we don't want to send our customers to the fresh produce terminal because then the revenue doesn't come to us, but the customer must come first and the export must come first. So these are the options that we have. I think that the real concern, that the real impact of delays is on the shipping companies. And that's why we're spending a lot of time emphasizing how quickly do you move the ship in and out of here. We also have a diversion. Let's say that for some reason the wind is very extreme here for a very long time. We can also use the ports in the Eastern Cape, Port Elizabeth, East London. We can also use those ports. And that diversion is also a possibility. But I think our intention is to keep working here under whatever conditions. And obviously, yesterday wind speeds hit 110 kilometers an hour, then we had to stop. But I think 90 kilometers an hour gives us a much bigger window in terms of the southeaster season.
Thank you. We'll take that one. Can I have any other implication of questions? That's probably good. Okay. That will probably be our last one.
Yes.
And if you can just get ready, those who would want to do a one-on-one, so we'll then be ready for that.
Can we do it in the shade?
Yes. So you can go ahead.
Hi, Minister, just to follow up regarding the RFPs, you spoke about the Richards Bay Bulk Terminal, that RFP coming out. Is this other three you spoke about at the beginning of next year, is that for port and rail, not just port, which is going to look into RFPs for port and rail?
Closer here, Minister.
Yes.
Come closer.
Sorry. Yes, the second one I'm told is going to be the manganese corridor. I don't. Then there is the general freight corridor, which is the Gauteng to Durban corridor, and then there's the Northern Cape to Saldanha corridor. I think those are the ones that I know about that are due to come out in the early part of next year. That doesn't mean it's the end, but you would be aware that we had 163 submissions that we received, and obviously what we're trying to do is to process that information and to put out requests for proposals. But those are the ones that we are able to do with relative speed, but there would be others that we would still be processing. Thank you.
Just a question from me, Creecy. When one looks at the World Bank's CPPI, the Container Port Performance Index, how does Cape Town, how do we fare according to that index? I know that it has marked the improvements at the port, but how are we faring in terms of that index?
Look, in terms of that index, Cape Town is one of the ports that has improved. But I think if you are going to compare this port with a port in a developed country, Rotterdam, for example, obviously we're a developing country. We are not going to compare with that. And I think that you would have seen there was quite a bit of controversy around that report, even from the freight industry. And they were saying that they thought it was unfair and there's been so much improvement and so on. I think that perhaps because it's an issue that the World Bank raised with me, is that they themselves would want to look at the methodology, so that maybe what you need in that report is categories. So you would put the Rotterdams and the Singapores in one category, and then you would put the Cape Towns and the Durbans and the Maputos in a different category, so that you are looking at comparing apples with apples, as they would say. Because clearly, I mean, I visited, for example, DP World in Dubai. DP World is a completely human being free. It's 100% mechanized, that port. You know, it is 6 times the size of all South Africa's ports put together. And we drove around there isn't a human being anywhere. The human beings are in a control room, and everything is being operated and managed remotely. And the level of efficiency is scary. I mean, we're talking about the international benchmark being 30 to 35 minutes for truck turnaround. They are turning trucks around in 20 minutes. So I think that you can't compare a port like this with a port like that, because you're just not comparing apples with apples. But for me, I'm interested in what do our customers say. Because that for me is the most important thing. Are South African logistics operators, South African farmers, South African manufacturers, are they saying we're moving in the right direction or the wrong direction? And we're getting a lot of affirmation that we're moving in the right direction, and that is what gives me confidence.
Thank you, Minister. That brings us to the end of the press. I don't know where you want to set up. Right here. So you want it on...
You want to kill her?
Yeah.
Can I have 5 minutes?
Okay, so we'll have all the national broadcasters doing the one-on-one.
You know what your minister to follow?
Yeah. So if you can just...
No, Naga doesn't need one.
Summary. Colleagues, if you can also have water, we don't want somebody to collapse. So who do we start with? We start with the ENCA. No.